Over the past few seasons, there's been a heavy push to try and snag a quarterback in late rounds. We've seen it with the 49ers, when they drafted Brock Purdy, and teams are more willing to spend a day 3 pick on a quarterback in hopes he pans out and is a guy who can be a future starter, similar to what Purdy has been in San Francisco. While Notre Dame doesn't have a very long history of great quarterbacks, Sam Hartman is a very interesting prospect. A player who has been in college football for quite a while, he has some very interesting tools and is a guy who I think has some interesting abilities. Today, we're going to be talking about him, and I'm going to give you guys my opinion and what I think of him. But hey guys, if you guys are new to the channel, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Leave a comment and let me know who you guys want to see me break down in the next video, and without further ado, let's get into it. Hartman spent a lot of his collegiate career at Wake Forest. In 2022, Hartman had 3,701 yards, 38 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions, and he showcased his talent for the Demon Deacons for a number of years before he decided to enter his name into the transfer portal and spend his final year of eligibility at Notre Dame. On the year, he finished with 2,689 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions on the year for the Irish, and it wasn't exactly the year they were hoping for. Hartman has good footwork and throwing mechanics. He moves his feet well, and he has some natural throwing mechanics. He can move around a little bit in the pocket as well, and he's decently mobile, which is solid, and I like to see that from my quarterbacks. His size I also liked, and he has some nice mechanics in the pocket as a passer. His short to intermediate pass accuracy really stood out to me. He has completed nearly 65% of his passes each of the last 2 seasons, and he has some really nice touch on his passes. He's able to fit the ball into some tight, narrow windows, and as a whole, I think his accuracy is above average, especially in that short to intermediate passing game, which is where I think he thrives. Hartman isn't the most athletic quarterback. He's more of a pocket passer or a game manager quarterback. He isn't elite on the move, and he isn't elite under pressure either. He has some nice tools, and with protection, I think he can be a solid quarterback, but I think he needs a lot more solid weapons around him in order to get the most out of him. At Wake Forest, he had 2 really solid receivers in Jamal Banks and A.T. Perry. At Notre Dame, a lot of the stress was taken off of him from Audric Estime. I would like to see him around a team where he's got weapons that he can distribute the football and he's got solid protection. Hartman's deep ball accuracy was very suspect to me as well. He underthrew a lot of his receivers deep down the field, and it just felt he didn't have elite touch on his deep passes. He also had the tendency to stare down his receivers from the snap, and some of his throws looked predetermined right from the get-go, which I don't love at all. He would force the football into super tight windows, and that's what led to turnovers, which is not something that I liked seeing from him whatsoever, especially when he was under pressure. Hartman just didn't make good decisions with the football with defense in his face, so I think that needs to improve. I think he needs to get better at throwing the football away and just getting better at handling pressure. Hartman's age is another concern. He's nearly 24 years old, which is pretty old in the draft. Being an older prospect in this class does have him a bit lower on the board for me, and while it's a quarterback class with a lot of older quarterbacks, I think it takes away from some of Hartman's prime years, and when you mix that in with some of his other flaws, he is a bit lower on my board. I'm not super high on Sam Hartman personally. He's not super athletic like some of the other quarterbacks. I have concerns about his deep ball strength, and he forces the ball a lot. On top of that, you factor in his age, and he is my quarterback 11 in the class. He's right outside the top 10, and I have some legitimate concerns. I think he could really develop into a very solid NFL backup, but I don't know if he is a starting quality quarterback. He is my number 194 player in the draft class. Hartman is a game manager. I don't think he can win a lot of games with just his arm, and even at Notre Dame, he was kind of used in that game manager sort of role. We talked about it. Audric Estime was this offense. They ran the football a lot. I think he could be the best quarterback in the NFL. Not the best quarterback, but you could get the most out of him in the NFL in a run-heavy offense that mixes in some short and shallow crossers. that's not going to ask him to do a lot to win down the field. A very similar offense to what the Niners have in that West Coast scheme, and we've seen them get the most out of Jimmy G and Brock Purdy. We just mentioned him, but my comparison for Sam Hartman is Jimmy Garoppolo. Neither of them are the most athletic. Both of them have some issues forcing the football, and they have turnover concerns, and neither of them are able to win games with just their arm. But if they have solid teams around them, they have protection, and they've got a run game, Jimmy G looks like a pretty solid quarterback. Jimmy G is a serviceable quarterback. Now, nobody's going to say he's elite, but he's not terrible either. I think that's what Sam Hartman could be. I don't think he's going to be this elite superstar quarterback, but I don't think he's going to be terrible either, and I feel like he could develop into a Jimmy Garoppolo type of quarterback. Sam Hartman is all around solid. He has some nice accuracy on short to intermediate passes, and he has some good mechanics. I don't think he's going to be a starter or picked very highly, but I think he could develop into a solid backup, and ultimately, I think Sam Hartman will be a day 3 pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. I don't hate it.